Be holy to everyone. If you all don't mind coming forward just a little bit, there's a whole bunch of people behind you without a place to sit. So, yeah, just come forward a little. We're all family. Good. Yeah, thank you so much. So today is the sacred day of Holi. And I thought I would begin before we take questions, just quickly for those of you, as there's so many who are not from India. Let's just take a moment and give you the story, because it's such a beautiful story of faith and love and resilience and goodness vanquishing evil. And so the story is, and I won't, all of these stories from the scriptures, the minute you pull one of them as a thread and you think, oh, I'm just going to tell this story, you realize, oh, it's woven into this and it's woven into that. And you realize you could spend hours going into all of the intricately woven different aspects. But I'm not going to do that. We're just going to try to stick with the exact specific story of Holi, which takes us to the story of Prahlad. Prahlad was a beautiful young boy. His father was king. You may have seen, as you walk through the central gardens of Parmarth Niketan, we have all of these statues that are called jankis. And they're statues that have been erected that depict different stories, different moments of our scriptures. And you'll see there's a 1 or 2 line description beneath them. One of them is Hiranyakashipu and Narsim Bhagwan. If you didn't know who that was, what you might see is a picture of what looks like a man having his guts ripped out from within him by a half lion, half man. And that's actually the story of the fast forwarded to kind of the end of the Prahlad story. But earlier in the Prahlad story is a beautiful young boy who's born to a king named Hiranyakashipu, who believes that he's the only one who should be worshipped. Ego is ego, rich, poor, from today, from thousands of years ago, it is quite pervasive. And so his father was a very, very ego-filled king. And he believed that people should only worship him. First, he had done a lot of sadhana, a lot of spiritual practice, aiming to get the boon from God that he would be immortal. But as I was saying last night in our discussion on anti-aging, mortality is part of the package of life. You can't not be mortal. If you're here in a human body, the package deal is mortality. You don't get to be immortal. You don't get to live forever. You don't get to reverse age. You can be healthy and strong, but we all are going to die. So God said to him, I know you've done all this sadhana, I know you've done all of this tapas, but no, I can't give you that boon that you want, because that goes against the very law of nature. I cannot make you immortal. So he said, okay, in that case, just give me the boon that I cannot be killed by any weapon. I cannot be killed by disease. I cannot be killed by man or by animal. I cannot be killed inside or outside. I cannot be killed in the day or the night. And he came up with all of these dichotomies. And God said, okay, here's your boon. Yes, because you've done this sadhana, you've done this tapa. So okay, if this is the boon you want, no death by man or animal, not inside or outside, not in day or night, not by any disease, not by any weapons. Okay, so be it. So of course he thinks he's outsmarted God, because he's like, well, if nothing can kill me and I can't be killed anytime or anywhere, then I'm essentially immortal. So he makes all of the people in his kingdom worship him. No aspect of God is allowed to be worshipped except him. Then he has his son, Prahlad, who just by nature from birth is a devotee of Lord Vishnu, Narayan. And Prahlad is juicy in his devotion. Pujya Swamiji in Arati tonight was speaking about that juice of love and how fire only burns when it's dry, but if fire is wet, it doesn't. Wood only burns if it's dry. If wood is wet, it doesn't burn. And how if we want to prevent ourselves from burning in anger, in jealousy, in ego, and all of the stuff that kills us inside, we have to be wet in love, in devotion. So Prahlad was wet, juicy in his love of God. He sang and he danced and he was just in ecstasy and love of God. And everyone who came near him, it was contagious. And so the father first began just by sending all of these teachers to try to convince him, like, no, don't worship Vishnu, worship your father. But at the end of the day, Prahlad's devotion was so contagious that his father would walk into his tuition sessions and he'd find not only Prahlad, but Prahlad and the teacher singing and dancing in love of God. Because that's what love is. Purity is, goodness is, it's contagious. So after the father realized that no teacher, no tutor, nobody he sent to him could convince him otherwise, he finally decided, all right, I just have to kill him. This is what ego does to us. It blinds us. I mean, really? Kill your own son just because he won't worship you? He wasn't insulting his father. He wasn't being rude and obnoxious and disobedient. All he was doing was loving God with the purity of a devotee. He just was loving God. But ego is such a force that it causes such blinders on us. And we end up doing things that otherwise seem completely crazy. Killing your son? Just because he won't worship you, the child? But he was wrapped up in his own ego, blinded in his own ego. And so he decided to try to kill him. He tried so many things, drops him from a mountain, tries to drown him. Everything he tried, nothing worked. There's a beautiful line in the Bhagavad Gita where Bhagwan Krishna explains to Arjuna that he's always there, that he always protects his devotee. And the line, it's so beautiful, it says, Ananya sachintayanto mam, ye janaha parupasyate, tesham nitya bhayuktanam, yogakshemam vahamyam. That protection from the divine is always there. It always protects the devotee. So Prahlad was always protected. Finally, his father calls his sister, who's got just as impure of a heart as he does. And the sister has a boon. And the boon is that she has a shawl that cannot be burned by fire. And that if she's wearing the shawl, she cannot be burned by fire. So he convinces his sister, named Holika, that they're going to plot together to kill Prahlad. Because the sister is going to take Prahlad in her lap. She will wear the shawl. Then they will set a fire. She will be saved and Prahlad will die. But God is not quite so easily outsmarted and does not abandon his devotees quite so quickly. So Holika takes Prahlad in her lap. She's got the shawl on. They light the fire. And at that moment, a gust of wind comes and it blows the shawl off of Holika and onto Prahlad. She dies. He is saved. And this holiday of Holi begins where people burn an effigy of Holika, remembering when she burned in the fire. And it's a time of celebration of the vanquishing, as I was saying in the Arti, the vanquishing of evil by good, of darkness by light. But it's also an opportunity for us, again, as I said in the Arti, to really ask ourselves, like, is there any place where we are more like Holika than like Prahlad? All right, we may not be demonesses or demons, but is there anywhere where we've allowed ourselves to get blinded? Where our ego has gotten the better of us and it's prevented us from seeing? My nephew, my family, a young boy. Like, really? I'm going to kill him? Just because of my brother's ego? Any place that we've allowed ourselves to get kind of off track. And it's a beautiful night. It's the full moon. So it's a beautiful night to just offer that. Offer that. And come back into alignment. And of course, just to give you the end for those of you who don't know the story that goes with the statue in our gardens. At the end of the day, when that didn't work, the father decides, fine, I'm just going to have to kill him myself. And they find themselves in this final moment together in the palace. And the father is just about to try to kill Prahlad himself. And he says to him, where is your God now? Where is your God? Prahlad says he's everywhere. He says, well, if he's here, why isn't he protecting you? Like, I'm going to kill you and here you are alone. Where is your God? Is he here in the pillar? And he hits the pillar and suddenly this Narsim Bhagwan, half lion, half man form of Vishnu appears. And they're right on the threshold of the palace. So it's neither indoors nor outdoors. And it's just at dusk. It's not day or it's not night. And right there, he kills this evil king with his claws. So it's not a weapon, but it's the claws of the lion. And after he does that, he takes Prahlad in his lap. And he says essentially, I'm so sorry it took me so long to come to your rescue, but ask anything you want of me. Any boon, anything you want. You've been such a loyal, amazing, beautiful devotee. Ask me anything. And of course, first Prahlad says, just let that bhakti, that juice of love for you, flow through me lifetime after lifetime. And he says, of course, done, like nothing else could even happen. Ask something else. And Prahlad says essentially the same thing that divine beings of any religion, any tradition, any time have been saying for time immemorial, which is forgive them, because they know not what they do. And this is what Prahlad asked for his father. He said, just forgive him. Just forgive him. It echoes Jesus Christ on the cross. It echoes every incarnation, every divine being, every bringer of truth, of light, at any time, in any religion, in any language. You never hear of anyone say, yeah, yes, give it to them. It's always about forgiveness. He says, just forgive my father. Just forgive him. He didn't know. He didn't know. So it's also, even though that moment takes place after the holy incident, it's a beautiful moment also to just allow that grace of forgiveness to flow through us. We've all been injured, we've all been cheated or lied to or betrayed or harmed in some way. Chances are none of us have ever actually had our father try over and over again to kill us in a variety of ways, and then ultimately with his own hands, getting his own sister in. Chances are that's worse than what any of us has ever had to go through. And so we're given these lessons and these models to look at our own lives and to say, well, if Prahlad wants nothing more than forgiveness for that, who am I to hold on to this lie or this rude comment or this sort of mean act or this betrayal or that cheating? And we challenge ourselves to follow in their footsteps and forgive. So that's the story of Holi, and it has so many beautiful messages for us tonight that I wanted to just begin with that. And then we'll open it up to any questions that anyone here has. We have 2 microphones here. Yeah, come. Whichever microphone is closer to you. If you have a question, please just come up to the microphone.
Oh, hi. So I've been struggling with kind of accepting that what's meant for me will find me, like that.
What is meant by?
What is meant for me will find me, like that. Just accepting that there is some divine notion that I need to believe in that will find me. Like uncertainty, I don't do well with uncertainty, and I don't know how to kind of overcome just letting go of the control that, there is a path for you, and if it's meant to you, it'll come to you. I don't understand that, and I don't know how to understand that.
Okay, great. So first of all, there's most definitely a path for you. It's not an if. But you're right in that it's actually not a matter of just, it will come to you. It actually requires some effort on our part. The effort is in letting go of all of that blocks us from seeing what that is. There's 3 aspects of mind, and I won't go into too many details of it right here, but it's worth mentioning briefly that keep us from seeing the truth. There's an aspect of the mind, and you can think about it like a pond or a lake. If you want to be able to see your reflection, your true self in the water. Well, there's 3 things that could prevent you from doing that. One is just the junk, right? The kind of grime that forms on the surface of the water. The grime, the gunk, the seaweed in it, or the moss, or whatever it is that's growing on the surface of the water that prevents you from being able to see. Then there's the waves in the water that prevent you from being able to see. And then there's the possibility that you have actually, or someone else has, unbeknownst to you, put a veil, a shawl, a covering over the water, and you can't see. And those 3 properties are what happens in the mind. There's the junk in our mind. Ego, fear, lust, greed, ignorance, rag and dvesh, this desire and aversion, competition, all of the stuff that occupies our mind prevents us from seeing. Hi. Hi. How are you? Where are you going? Okay. Wonderful. Yeah, explore, no problem. She's welcome to explore. So, and then there's the waves in the mind. The waves, the just constant change, constant change. This is what yoga speaks to us about, is that yoga is that quiets the constant waves of the mind. And then there's the covering of the mind. What we call Maya, that veil, that ignorance, that illusion. And our spiritual practices are that which enable us to become free of these different 3 aspects. So yes, there's a path for you, but it's not going to just fall in your lap while you're scrolling Instagram. You've got to be attentive, attention, intention, focus, a clearing away of the muck, a quieting. Because otherwise what happens is we cannot see that path. There's too much coming in. Fear comes in, desire comes in. Oh my God, what if that path turns out not to be right for me? Oh my God, what if all of my, friends or people I follow on social media were right, that I should have done something else? Oh my God, what if I don't make enough money? Oh my God, what if I'm a failure? What if what I want to happen doesn't happen? Fear comes in, desire comes in. We can't see. So it takes attention, intention, focus, clarity, and a clearing away of that which blocks the truth from us. And then you'll be able to see your path. And by the way, there's also not just one path for all of us. There's different paths throughout our lives. It's not like everything is wrong. It's not like you open up Google Maps and the entire screen is all wrong way, wrong way, wrong way, except one little path that's right. It's not like that. There's almost an infinite number of right ways to go. Yeah, this way, that way, it's all right. Right? We've got a perfect demonstration. Yeah, that's the right way, this is the right way, there's the right way. So it's not a matter. A lot of us drive ourselves crazy, thinking that we are surrounded by wrong paths, wrong paths, wrong paths. And if we just make the wrong decision, everything's going to fall apart. And that somehow there's just one right path for us. It's not like that. It's much more about the who and the how than the what. So it's much less about what you do and much more about how you do it and the who you identify as. And that's why the path of seva, for example, is given as such a powerful path, seva, karma yoga. Because what it is it's a path that allows us to use every minute, every moment, every action, to purify that mind, to purify the thoughts, and to move closer to our own awakening. So it's not like, oh my God, I chose the wrong career, or oh my God, I chose the wrong neighborhood to live in, or I chose the wrong restaurant to eat at, or I chose the wrong this. You are just so cute. One of these days I'm going to have to scoop you right up. It's not a matter of a catastrophe based on I chose this job or that job, this university, this city to live in, that city to live in, this person to marry, that person to marry, this hobby, that hobby, this yoga class, that yoga class. It's not that tenuous. Remember that the universe is on our side. The right path is with you. It's not outside of you. All of what we do is an effort to help us find within ourselves the who and the how. The what is just a way to find that. And then the what is that which emerges once we actually know clearly who we are. So don't worry about, oh my God, what is the path? Just begin right here, right now, with your attention, with your intention, who am I? And share that in this moment, in whatever way this moment offers you the opportunity. And then look for opportunities in your life, more and more, to purify those three aspects of your mind, so that wherever you are, the path becomes clear. And then every minute and every moment you'll be able to walk it. It's not one path. That's a misconception that's been given to us too frequently these days. Just put one foot in front of each other, beginning right here, right now. Your right path here is to ask the question. Then your right path is to take in the answer. And then to begin as you stand from here and you walk. How can I, in each moment, clear my mind, find my attention, direct my attention, have an intention, free myself from distractions, free myself from too much outside influence, free myself from the junk that fills up our mind, and the path will keep showing itself to you right in front of you. It's there. The universe is not trying to confuse you. It's there for you. Beautiful. Yes. Wonderful. Other questions? Yeah.
Thank you. My question is two parts. So the first one is I had some spiritual experiences in my life, which was very meaningful to me. And a lot of them has been when I was traveling to a retreat or a pilgrimage, something like this. And when I come back home, I always feel like it's so difficult to explain to people what I experienced. And I'm also struggling with is it right of me to share? Because I feel like they don't understand it.
Yeah. Beautiful. You know, when we have really powerful spiritual experiences, whether we have them because we're traveling or we have them just sitting in our meditation, we want to share them. We want people who know us, who love us, to understand. And it's so hard because they don't. When we've had powerful spiritual experiences, it's so easy to forget that other people have not had them and that their vision is exactly the way that it's always been. And as you try to share them, what happens is you get frustrated. You try to put words on experiences that don't have words. People don't understand, and then they think maybe you're a little not right in the head. And then you feel like they think you're a little not right in the head, so then you try to explain it more and more and more and more. My suggestion would be not to try to explain it. Spirituality is a fragrance. People will recognize it, they'll feel it, they'll notice it. And those who are attuned, who are open, not everyone. You know, it's like there's certain frequencies that only certain species can hear. Like they have these dog whistles. You can blow a whistle. Humans can't hear it, but the dog can. People who are very young can hear higher frequencies than people who are older. There's an attunement to a spiritual frequency. That as we do spiritual work, as we open, we start to get attuned. You start to feel it and notice, and it's how we recognize each other. It's how we recognize, oh yeah, you feel it. Those who are attuned will find their way to you and they will want to know. And you will feel that attunement. And as you start to share, you'll feel that they understand. That you don't have to use so many words. You don't have to justify and over-explain. Really what they want is not the words, but they want the energy transmission. You know, it's like a dog goes swimming in the water. And when the dog comes out of the water, and what does the dog do? Right? And it sprays that water on everybody around. I feel sometimes like all I want to do, like you don't always feel like you have the words, but that if I could just be like a dog and be able to go like this and to just have that experience, you know, spray onto everyone around, the way that a dog makes everyone wet when they've gotten out of the water, whether you want to get wet or not. And that's what people are really looking for, is that touch. So you'll feel it, they'll feel it. But reserve it for them. Don't try to speak in a frequency to people who can't hear it. It's like blowing a dog whistle to humans. You can blow all you want, and we're just going to sit there going, like, so what? I don't hear anything. What is it? Don't dissipate your energy. Don't cheapen the experience. And don't justify yourself. To those who can't hear it. It doesn't mean that they're not good people. It just means that they're not attuned to that frequency. Connect with them on a different level. Talk to them about, music or flowers or good food, or whatever else it is that you can connect with them on that level. And don't try to explain something that they're not open to understanding. Yeah, and love them anyway.
Thank you. My second part of that question was also integration. So when you have an experience like this, I felt before in the past certainly that is when I come home and it's very hard to integrate what I learned.
Yeah. So integration happens layer by layer. It's never, as far as I know, a one-time thing. It's not, oh, you have a powerful spiritual experience, then you integrate, boom, done. You have an experience, you integrate, then you have another experience, you integrate. We're constantly being shaped by these experiences. But my suggestion to you would be that you do as much integration as you can before you go home. Don't wait till you get home to integrate. It's going to be much harder. If it means you take an extra few days before you go back, or if it means that you go somewhere else for a day or 2 or 3, kind of in between the travel and back to the other world, try to do as much of that integration as you can before you jump back into the other world. Because it's going to come at you as though you were the former unintegrated self who hadn't had those experiences. And it's going to be enough of a challenge to maintain the integration. But don't try to do the integration there. Do the integration as much as you can here, and then as you go back, challenges will arise. You'll realize, I guess I'm not quite done yet. Something will happen at work, at home, with your relationships, with your family. And you'll realize, I guess there's more integration to be done. And then you work on it. But consider it not a one-off thing. Consider it a process of growth and adjustment. You're constantly trying to figure out what fits and what doesn't. Do these relationships fit? Does this activity fit? Do these habits fit? Does this place fit? And with each powerful spiritual experience, inevitably there will be a shedding of things that no longer fit. Sometimes it's relationships, sometimes it's jobs, sometimes it's habits. But there's always going to be an adjustment. And you just allow yourself to be open to that. In the same way that every time our body changes, we grow, we gain weight, we lose weight. Well, we're constantly having to kind of adjust our clothes. Take them in, let them out, hem them. Take out the hems, Hopefully you're not buying too many clothes, but we have to constantly keep adjusting them as the body changes. And the same thing is true with the rest of our life. It takes adjustment as we grow and expand spiritually. And it's a continual process. And just allow it. Recognize it's difficult. Allow it. If it means that you need to take a day away, just do that. Find some place that's not your home environment, but isn't all the way across the world. Somewhere nearby, go away for a weekend, go away for a day. And just create some quiet space for yourself to really reintegrate. Beautiful. Yeah. We'll take this as the last question tonight.
Yeah, so my question is, we set goals and before the success we get a lot of failures. So for those failures, how to be content and satisfied?
So we set goals, and before we get the goals, we get a lot of, failures. Great. So have higher goals, meaning you can have lower goals also. Maybe I have a goal that I'm going to be able to run a mile in 6 minutes, okay? Probably not a really reasonable goal, but let's say that I make that my goal. I'm going to run a mile in 6 minutes. Well, every day I go out to run and it's 15 minutes, and I get it down to 12 minutes, and then I get it to 11 minutes, and I just can't break 11 minutes. Well, that's still basically double my goal. Failure after failure. I'm not saying change the lower goal. Hold it. That's great. Whether it's in a career level, whether it's in an artistic, creative level, whether it's in a relationship level, whether it's on a spiritual level. I'm going to spend this much time every day meditating. I'm going to do this many malas of my mantra every day. I'm going to attend satsang this many times a month, or go to kathas this many times a month. But also hold a higher goal. The higher goal being every day, I'm going to get closer to God. Whether I run the mile or not. Whether I get the job or not. Whether I lose the weight or not. Whether I paint the picture or not, or sell the painting that I painted. Whether I get up to meditate or not, my higher goal is a goal that every day I'm going to get closer to God. Which means every moment that I berate myself and say, oh my God, you're awful, you're worthless, you're stupid, you're lazy, you're irresponsible, you can't do this, you can't do that, you're no good. Well, that's pulled me away from my higher goal. So if I keep my higher goal in mind, then even as these lower goal failures come, I don't let them get me down, because I realize, oh, I've got a higher goal, which is to get closer to God. I've got a higher goal, which is self-realization. I am not the job that I went on the interview for and didn't get it. I am not the body I'm trying to get in shape or lose weight. I am not the bank account I'm trying to increase, or the resume, the CV I'm trying to build things on. I'm not the relationship I'm hoping will work out. I'm none of those things. So have those goals, that's great. We all should have work goals and relationship goals and health goals. But above that, we should have goals of our highest spiritual awareness. And if you hold that, then every time you fail down here, you don't lose yourself, because you re-anchor in the higher goal. And you keep working and you keep working, and you realize, it's core Bhagavad Gita. You do your best. You do it sincerely. You do it with all you've got. But you recognize fully and completely the results are not in your hands. The doing is in your hands. The happening is not in your hands. And when you realize that, then the failures don't get you down. They also don't make you decide you're not going to keep working. That sincerity, that integrity, that tenacity. That's in our hands. That's our duty. The rest, not in our hands. So just keep remembering that, because otherwise failure feels like, oh, I'm a failure. You're not a failure. For whatever reason, it didn't work. There could be 100 reasons why it didn't work. Not one of them is that you are a failure. Re-anchor yourself. Connect to the sincerity piece of it, the Dharma piece of it, and the higher part of it, which is, that's my only job. Do it with sincerity, do it with tenacity, do it with all I've got, but also do it with wisdom. If my goal is I'm going to run a 6-minute mile, and no matter what trainers I call in, no matter how many hours a day I spend trying to train, doesn't happen, and the trainers say to me, you know what, this is really like so far beyond your capacity. At some point, I might decide to amend my goal. To amend my goal to something that's kind of more within my reach. All right, not a 6-minute mile. Maybe my goal becomes an 11-minute mile. Right? Why not? Why not have a goal that you actually can attain? There's actually kind of a science in psychology around goal setting. And the science of that says our goals should be something that are just beyond our reach. Means that which we need to stretch for. But that ultimately, eventually, if we stretch enough, we will be able to attain. You don't want to set a goal that is something that is totally out of your reach, because then you're just going to be frustrated. But you also don't want to set a goal that you don't even have to stretch for, because then you're not challenging yourself. Then you're just selling yourself short, and you know it. And so then your whole self-image becomes much less, because you know that you've given yourself a goal that's kind of too easy for you. So the psychological science of successful goal setting is something that's just beyond your reach, but ultimately attainable if you stretch enough for it. So you might be in a position eventually of kind of reevaluating your goals. Are they attainable? And if not, readjust them. Beautiful. Okay, so we were going to end, but I have a little rule in satsang, which is kids first and kids always. So we cannot end without her question. She's going to need somebody to help her with that microphone. Yes.
Hello, good evening. So my question for the day is,
Can you speak really loud?
Can you hear me?
Well, I can hear you perfectly. Yes.
Okay, so my question is that people say that marks are not important in life, but when we get the results, they're like, oh my God, how much did you get? Don't you think that is a little low? You should have worked hard. So why do people care of what we do, and why do we care what people think about us?
Come here. Come here. What is your name? Vania. Yeah. There you go. Come here. So. No. There. Perfect. You care about your marks because they seem to be a statement about how good you are, right? When you get good marks, how do you feel?
Really good.
Really good, right? And you feel really good because you think that that mark is telling you how you are. You get an A and you feel like, I am good, right? And when you get a bad, काम करेगा भैया, इनको वो cordless mic देना. And when you get a low mark, then you feel like you're maybe not so good, right? But let me ask you something. Who makes the exams?
A teacher.
Teacher. And is the teacher human?
Yes.
So that means that when the teacher makes the exam, in the teacher's humanness, the teacher sometimes decides to ask this, sometimes decides to ask that. Kind of unki merji say, right?
Yeah.
Now, what if you learned perfectly that which the teacher taught, but it's not what the teacher asked on the exam? Then what would happen?
I would get scared and probably scared that what will happen next.
Right, you'd get a bad mark on the exam. But you learned the material perfectly. But they just didn't ask what you learned.
Yeah.
Now, another thing happens sometimes is teachers are humans. Some teachers are very good at explaining things. Some teachers are not so good at explaining things. Sometimes our brains are really good at understanding something. Sometimes they're not so good at understanding something. Right? Sometimes we learn something and it just seems like that doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Have you ever had that happen?
Yeah, all the time.
All the time, right? It happens so much. Now, I'll tell you a story. I remember in my physics class when I was in school, physics was one of those things that just didn't make sense to me. And there was a question on the exam that said something like, if a 30 kilogram girl wants to jump out of her window on the second story of her house, and she has a rope that can only hold 20 kilograms, what should she do? And I wrote, double the rope. Now, to me, that seemed like a very common sense solution. If the rope can hold 20 kilograms and I double it in half, well, now it should be able to hold 40. Unfortunately, that was not actually the answer. The answer had to do something with the angle that she jumped and the velocity. I mean, it was just beyond my ability to understand. I got a 0. But in real life, I think doubling the rope would have worked.
Yeah.
Don't you think so? Now, I share that story with you because sometimes that which we are taught doesn't make sense in our brain. But something else makes sense in our brain. And so we end up getting a 0 on the exam. But it doesn't mean that you're a wrong person or a stupid person. It just means your brain doesn't work quite like that. Right? Nobody can be good at everything. What are the things that you're best at? What are you really, really good at?
Drawing.
Okay, great.
Dancing.
Great.
Playing the piano.
Ah, we have an artist. Wonderful. And what are the things that come more difficultly to you?
Writing Hindi.
Okay.
Understanding a little bit of German.
German.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, your English is good, so. Yes, okay, so Hindi and German are difficult. And what else?
And communicating with people.
think you communicate very well. What do you all think? I think you are an A+ communicator. She's an A+ communicator. Now, I give you an A+. Maybe your teacher gives you a different mark. But you are just beautiful, Vanya.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Whether you get an A+ or you get a failing mark, because maybe that day you didn't feel like communicating. Or maybe they asked you something in German and you didn't understand it because, hey, it's a difficult language. But that doesn't mean that you are any less of a beautiful, perfect, divine, amazing being. If you look at flowers, all of the different types of flowers are different, right? Roses are different. Jasmine is different. Apples are different. Oranges are different. Sunflowers are different. But they're all perfect, right? But they're different, right? In the same way, you're going to find that you have a very special and very unique fragrance and fruit to give to the world. And it might not be German. And that's okay. The rose bush cannot give apples. The apple tree does not smell like roses. And that's okay. So the rose bush gets a failure in giving apples. And the apple tree gets a failure in smelling like a rose. But that doesn't mean that it's any less beautiful or perfect, right? So try German as much as you can. Simply the act of trying is very, very good for you. It makes your brain as a muscle strong. So keep trying. But you get a bad mark, it happens. That's okay. You're an artist. And then just keep doing all of the things that you do well, that you love to do. And when you look in the mirror, I want you to tell yourself, I am divine. Can you say that with me?
Okay. I am divine.
I am whole.
I am whole.
I am complete.
I am complete.
I am perfect.
I am perfect.
I am divine.
I am divine.
I am whole.
I am whole.
I am complete.
I am complete.
I am perfect.
I am perfect.
Can you do it on your own?
I am divine. I am whole. I am complete. I am perfect.
Beautiful. That is your mantra, okay? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful. So, just before we close, we have a very special birthday to celebrate. We love celebrating birthdays in satsang with our family from all over. And our beautiful brother, Rohan, who's here at Parmarth in beautiful, beautiful, beautiful seva in so many ways and so many facets, and is just such a beautiful channel of love, of care, of service, of offering of self. And it's his birthday, which means we get to celebrate him. And so in satsang, the way that I love to celebrate birthdays is that we sing happy birthday together. We can begin with English, since it's probably the one that the largest number of people know. And then we'll sing happy birthday in whatever language any of you know. So, do you speak French? Do you speak Spanish? Do you speak Portuguese? Do you speak Russian? Do you speak Hebrew? Do you speak any language? And if you do, this is your moment. So we'll ask, in the meantime that we sing together in English, everyone who's got a language other than English to find your way to one of these two microphones, and we'll take you one by one in singing happy birthday in as many languages as we have. So why don't you stand so everyone can see you. Before we sing to him, I'll tell you a beautiful story. So my mom, who many of you may know, had a very, very tragic and devastating stroke, a cerebral hemorrhage, just 3 years ago, has been living here with me for the last 2.5 years. She has very, very, very severe brain damage, but has been, by God's grace, doing much, much, much better. And one of the things that Rohan does that's so beautiful is he goes up and he spends time talking to my mom. And she loves chatting with Rohan. She calls him her buddy. And last night, just last night, as I was saying goodnight to her, I said, have a wonderful night's sleep. And she was not in a very chatty mood. She wasn't speaking much in the night. And I said, have a wonderful night, Mom. And she smiled, but she didn't say anything. And I said, have beautiful, sweet dreams. She smiled, but didn't say anything. And I said, what are you going to dream about, Mom? And she says, Rohan. So he has gotten himself so deeply into my mom's heart that even in her moments of not speaking, she has him there in her heart, which is so, so beautiful. And let's sing happy birthday together in English and then in all of our other languages. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Rohan. Happy birthday to you. All right, who's up? Come to the mic with a language. We may need Krishna Priya to start them off. And by the way, if you cannot sing, do not worry. This is the first moment singing into a microphone for almost everyone who's ever done this before. So do not worry. Yes.
So in Dutch, in Nederlands. Lang zal je leven, lang zal je leven, lang zal je leven in de gloria, in de gloria, in the gloria. And then we have to go, hippity pip, hurrah, hippity pip, hurrah, hippity pip, hurrah.
Beautiful. Other languages. So first tell us the language and then...
Hello, I come from Bulgaria.
I'm sorry?
Bulgaria.
Bulgarian, wonderful.
Bulgaria. It's named Bulgaria in Europe. Happy birthday, Roman. We have not special songs, but happy birthday in Bulgaria seems like Честит рожден ден на теб, честит рожден ден на теб, честит рожден ден, скъпи Роан, честит рожден ден на теб.
I think that's the first time we've had Bulgarian. Wonderful. Yes.
Good evening. Original from Colombia, so in Spanish.
Spanish, wonderful. And by the way, feel free to join her. Any other Spanish speakers? Yes.
Thank you. Feliz cumpleaños a ti. Feliz cumpleaños a ti. Feliz cumpleaños, Día Rohan. Feliz cumpleaños a ti.